Hey, Doug, I heard you went to Commander Spock's wedding.
I did.
I bet you had the time of your life.
And then some.
Hail, Metal Nation. Damn it. Hail, Metal Nation. It is I, Tim. That's Doug. And this is Podcast Them Down. And oh my God, it's the first episode of Season 2 of Star Trek, the original series, Metal Rewatch, where we rate the quality and metalness of all the Star Trek episodes. And it only took us, a couple of years to get to 1/3 of the way through.
They were saying we'd never finish, and Look who finished. Look where we are. Nobody thought we'd be here, and now we're here.
Exactly.
Just like we said.
Yeah.
All the haters and doubters out there.
I was gonna, they can suck my Klingon whatever.
Hey.
All right, so this episode is Amok time. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, it's a Malaysian word in English.
Season 2, episode 1. And that, I'm not the one who watched the episode, so I shouldn't be leading this, right? Because
we're waiting for you to acknowledge that you've hit play.
Yeah, I mean,
I already hit play. It's been going.
well, I
How
don't.
this works? Well, if we don't know,
Hang on. Let's back up.
Back it up.
Let's back up.
Hold on.
I haven't watched the episode. I'm watching it in real time. They've watched it. They've wasted their lives watching and memorizing and contributing to Memory Alpha and Memory Beta. And now I have backed up the episode, and Kirk's walking up a ladder without any safety restraints. And I feel like in that century, they would have fixed it by now. All right,
Artificial
go.
gravity, you're finished. Anyway, first of all, between Doug
Have
and
you noticed anything strange about Spock? So I do have the
so
captions on. That's
you
how I
have
know
the
what they're
captions on,
saying.
which might be cheating.
Right.
Take it away, Doug.
yeah. So Kirk's like climbing up the elevator ladder for some reason. And he like ends up in this hall, and McCoy's like, "There's something wrong with Spock." And then like Chapel, we see her bringing in soup. And so she like takes it in, and then you hear some shouting.
Yep.
And then the soup, which is like
Purple?
translucent colored, ends up flying on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chapel comes out, I think, upset.
Quite flustered.
And then Spock comes out and yells some things. And he's like, "I want to take my PTO," to Kirk.
Yeah.
Was Spock in room 237?
I think he is.
He's not.
Oh.
That would be good.
And then Kirk. Oh, there's a Matt. Did you notice that they probably were just brushed with the blocking? But after Spock says all his things, Kirk like menacingly advances,
He did.
and there's like 9 people standing in the hallway doing nothing because they didn't have time to figure out what they should do. Anyway,
There's a lot of milling around by people when they probably shouldn't be in this episode.
yeah, there's like the security guard standing guard. Why? Like, yeah, good scene.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's it.
That's it.
All right. To the deliberation chamber. Spock's talking about loss of light days.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's something scientists use.
I thought it was a measure of distance.
Yeah, it's a measure of. I guess you could roundabout. You could justify to yourself that they meant distance and not time, but I'm gonna think they're not that smart. Who wrote this episode?
I wasn't Harlan Ellison, I can tell you that. It was
written by Theodore Sturgeon.
Yeah.
He was a real
Oh my
author.
God.
Yeah, he's novelist and wrote a lot of Star Trek, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, his pen name is E. Waldo Hunter, which is what I called myself when I was 6 and looking for Waldo in all those books.
Isn't Sturgeon the H.P. Lovecraft acolyte?
Possibly.
Is a distant relative of a Ralph Waldo Emerson. He's a Mensa guy. Coming soon to Podcast Him Down.
There's an exhaustive text search of his Wikipedia did not turn up for anything for Lovecraft. All right, I'm ready with my ratings here. I think both quality and metalness were 7 for this intro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Spock is being so pissy. He comes across as like an incel or something. So,
well, maybe you might not be wrong.
Yeah.
Interesting theory. This is clearly a 9 and a 9. I don't condone yelling at people of the opposite gender angrily, but there is a lot of that in here. Kirk unexpectedly climbing up the ladder, that's worth at least 2 metal points. Throwing soup, everyone concerned but no one really acting, especially when a coworker is being berated by a friend. So yeah, no, it's 9 and 9.
hey, the Sturgeon guy did write for Weird Tales, so maybe that's where you...
I think he wrote that episode that mentions the old ones in season 1, and that's what I'm remembering.
Okay, so he's in that sphere.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and just the way Kirk's like just McCoy, it's very like blasé, nonchalant. He's like, "Oh, Captain, you got a minute?" When Kirk is coming out of an elevator shaft for no apparent reason.
Hey, Spock's being a dick.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's very metal how I'm sure Gene Roddenberry wrote Majel Barrett into this episode a lot.
A lot.
Who is she?
Chapel. And Loxana Troy in Next Gen, of course. A much better performance.
And the computer voice.
That's right. Always. Yeah, and Spock acting pissy, and it's all really about vacation, and then it ends. So yeah, 9 and 9.
Oh, 9. What did you say, Matt? I wasn't listening.
I also said 9 and 9.
Well, I'm sticking with my 7 and 7.
You know.
You didn't clink your glass.
Oh, sorry.
No, too
ice
late.
is
The moment's
pretty
passed.
melted right now.
All right, let's go boldly back to the episode. I'm not going to split the infinitive.
Fair. All right, so Spock's been acting quite a dick. So Captain Kirk, who loves his crew, no one in particular, but his crew in general, turns the Enterprise around, and they're on their way to Vulcan to honor Spock's request. When all of a sudden they get an emergency message from Starfleet. Now, all throughout the first season, it's been called everything except Starfleet, like the United Earth Space Probe Agency and Star Command and all this. But here, at least they finally figured out it's Starfleet. So they were going... Let me read you the captain's log just to situate us. So captain's log, stardate 3372.7. On course, on schedule, bound for Altair 6 via Vulcan. First Officer Spock seems to be under stress. He has requested and been granted shore leave. Ship surgeon McCoy has him under medical surveillance. All right. So they're on their way. But of course, fucking Comac, the dick admiral of Starfleet Command.
Mac.
Dick Admiral of the episode, yeah.
Comac is pissed that they're going to be 7 solar days late or something like that. Do they explain why they're going to Altair 6?
There's some kind of, I was like, is it commencement? There's some kind of civil war, and this is like a coronation for someone that's going to fix it all.
They just need the gunboat to be like in orbit so no one gets too many ideas about communism or something. So yeah, speaking of communism, we meet a new friend. So there is a suspicious mop-haired gentleman at the controls where our buddy Mr. Kyle used to sit. And that is Pavel Chekhov, our first time meeting him.
Well, except it's a non-introduction introduction. He's just always been there.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been there. You know, you've always seen him. He's not new at all. So they talk about the time. Kirk referenced something called Finagle's Law. Any home port the ship makes will be somebody else's, not mine. I don't know what that
look
means.
that up. Whether
Yeah,
that's
Is that a real thing? Who knows? The new president of Altair 6 wanted to get himself launched a week early, so we have to be there a week early. Don't worry, he's trying to reassure Spock. We'll get you there as soon as you can. And of course, Spock is pretending that it's going to be okay, but he's flipping out. And
I think I see a piece of masking tape holding together part of the bridge.
nah.
Yeah,
Space tape. Yeah.
yeah, a space tape. It's an advanced polymer made of nanites. And so,
Isn't that what gives Luke the Force?
That was
no, those are metachlorians.
Yeah, metachlorians.
So Spock, behind his back, has ordered them to go to Vulcan. Everyone's confused. Spock pretends he didn't do this, and Chekhov says he must have. And Spock is sent to sickbay, where he's examined by McCoy, and Spock is just kind of acting generally goofy. And they just keep going back and forth if they should head to Vulcan. McCoy urges Kirk to send him to Vulcan because Spock is just really, really wacky. He's like, he can't trace it, but somehow like his physical and emotional pressure is building. There's huge amounts of adrenaline. If they don't stop it, he's going to die. And is that, I think this is where the act ends, right?
The views. This is Act 1.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Because he isn't looking at the creepy
when
picture
McCoy informs Kirk about that he's going to die in a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end.
Oh yeah, he's as tight-lipped about it as an Aldebaran shellmouth. Whatever that means.
All right, let us go. So
Go ahead, Tim.
I'm picturing like an aircraft carrier, right? And they've left London, right? And they're gonna swing by, I don't know, San Francisco.
Okay.
You mean Southampton, right? They don't dock in London.
How about
San Diego?
How about Stockholm?
Okay.
All right. So they've left London, and then they're like, oh, you have to get to Mumbai.
Oh.
Like, oh,
Well,
okay. Well, but can we run by Stockholm real quick? And they go, no. Can't they drop him off? Do they have to do this door-to-door bullshit and divert the entire starship? Can't they like swing by Lisbon, drop him off, and then he can get his own ass to Stockholm?
from my understanding, it's not quite as out of the way as that. I think like they're sailing from Norfolk to Boston, but Spock wants to go to Baltimore. And they're like, well, we're going to be late if we stop in Baltimore. And Spock is like, we're fucking on the way to Baltimore, dickholes. Just let me go.
So
It's
go
like
to Norfolk,
three-
go to Jersey, go to Philly, go to, you know, you don't have to go all the way up to Chesapeake Bay, you know?
It's 3 light days.
Yeah,
He can rent a
If
car.
it's to measure a distance, that's hardly material.
like honestly, like 3 light days means like 14 seconds at warp 5, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, so I'm gonna being petulant, and it's starting to not be metal and starting to be annoying.
Like that's less than 100th of a light year.
I'm liking Chekhov though.
What about the scene where Spock's holding the pen, except it was like a knife?
Yeah.
And it's all like it shows hand shaking, but it's very ominous the entire time, and it's kind of awkward and metal.
Chekhov. I know we're all over the place. Chekhov looks like the kid from the Jungle Book.
Mowgli?
Very, very real looking hair.
That is his real hair. Doug, I don't know what you're talking about. Real looking, actually real. His very, very actually real hair.
In the continuity of the story, I suppose that's probably true. I always like when they reference that they want this to be relatable, so they'll talk about going ashore. So Kirk talks about the shore facilities.
Oh yeah, so all the rubes in 1968 will get it. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Looks like they're in someone's living room, and then they're not. Like,
How'd they do that?
and
It's a
then
shame. It's a shame they never called them space boats, and that didn't catch on.
I'm sure they do at some point. It's a nice looking boat. Yeah, and I like when Kirk departs, the soup is visible on the wall.
Yeah, because they haven't fucking cleaned up.
Well, everyone's so busy milling about.
There are
And
9
Spock
people.
has a really nice quarters, and I think it's the first time we see that.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, they're very nice. Although
right.
it has more art than I think of a Vulcan show. What do I know? I'm not.
Oh, and I like because we get that moment where Kirk is sleeping in his clothes, which you know how those tech bros. There's that thing where they do like non-continuous sleeping, where you sleep like 1 hour every 5 hours or whatever it is.
Then they drink like Huel or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe all of Starfleet's like that, and that's why they always sleep in their uniforms and just sort of lie, not quite in the dark.
Well, we know.
I like to think that Spock, you know, in The Shining, I don't know why I keep bringing back to The Shining, but the cook with The Shining, he's in Florida and he's in his house and he's in his bed and he's got the painting of the lady over him. I like to think that Spock has a Vulcan version of that over it.
So, Doug, we know from Star Trek Discovery that at least the mirror version of Captain Lorca said that Elon Musk was one of the greatest human minds. So it's possible that during the post-atomic horror, there was some kind of like tech bro revivalism or something like that.
It would certainly explain everyone's behavior in all the Kurtzman Star Trek.
Yeah.
I do like the workplace banter. Speaking of Kurtzman Star Trek, but between Sulu and Chekhov about Altair, and then Chekhov says he thinks he's going to get space sick.
Yes.
I think I'm going to get space sick.
All right. Let's throw some numbers at this. Go.
All right. Not as metal as the beginning, but still fairly metal. I will give this a 7.5 metal and a 7.9 quality.
I'll just go with talky, bit of drama, bit of formula, produce Chekhov okay. And they demote because like Sulu during, what's the one with the Gorn? Commanded the Enterprise during that episode.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's just some guy who's bitching about entering in coordinates with another guy doing the same thing who we've always known but never met. It's a 7 and 7.
I'm going 6.5 metal and 7 quality.
And 5.7. All right, hit it.
All right. So we open. Oh yeah. So McCoy's all like dramatic and Spock's gonna die in a week. Blah blah. Yeah, and then we learn that it's a little bit all right, I'm just going off the summary. Okay. Yeah. So he's like, he's going to die, but I don't know why he's going to die. He won't tell me. But he definitely will. And I think they describe it as his adrenal glands running all the time. And it's like the physical and emotional stress is just going to tear him apart.
Yep.
Then there's a Kirk Spock scene. Is this where we see the picture of
Yeah.
Turing?
So Kirk goes into Spock's office or quarters, and he's creepily staring at a picture of an 8-year-old girl, which is interesting.
Well, but it's only interesting because Kurtzman ruined it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. That's true.
So the character we're out to meet is in at least. Did she first appear in Strange New Worlds?
She is in Strange New Worlds, several episodes, multiple episodes.
And they handle it okay, but it renders Spock from looking at someone he hasn't seen since they were 8 or 12 to him staring at a picture of his betrothed as a child.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That actually does ruin. Oh, wow. Well, that fucks this. Yeah. So he's looking at a picture of his as we will discover. Maybe I won't ruin it for Tim yet, but he's this.
Now go ahead and ruin it.
no. This young girl that he knows. You should learn when Captain Kirk learns. We don't know who this young girl is. And so Kirk and Spock talk about his medical condition.
Yeah, they sure talk a lot.
Spock keeps calling him an outworlder for some reason. Like that's a thing. And why doesn't he just say human? But I guess a human. There is a kind of a touching point where he kind of references his mom here, because he says it is a thing no outworlder may know, except those very few who have been involved. So I thought that was like a cool reference to his madre. Yeah, so he's just saying I don't want to talk about it. It's like biology. I'm like a salmon.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. You're not my real dad.
First, we have to get the fictional, whatever it is, some kind of bird.
Yeah.
Goes over 11 years on Regulus 5. But then you need to make it relatable.
The giant eel birds, Doug.
Oh, I forgot the eel. Yeah, it's important. They have to return to their caverns.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like the salmon, too. And then Kirk's like, but you're not a fish, Mr. Spock. No, nor am I a man. I'm a Vulcan. Yeah, and then so he has to return home. Then Kirk is kind of emotion. And, there's a good, because Kirk, we all know Kirk and Spock have a special bond. Mm-hmm. Probably see a bit of that in this episode. But Kirk only wants to talk about Spock in the context of being a great first officer. But he's very emotionally, unsettled when he's leaving. He's like, I haven't heard a word you've said, which is about the confidentiality, but there's some subtext. And he's like, I'll get you to Vulcan somehow.
It's like when Zap Brannigan discovers that Lee Lemon is good friends with Fry. But I thought we would be good friends.
Then we get, and it explains the Ponfar here.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the weird chapel Spock scene. Well, we get Comac again.
Comac is just being a fucking dick as usual. So Kirk tells Uhura to call Starfleet Command, and in Sector 9, I don't know what that means. And they play it in sickbay. Meanwhile, Spock is playing his old Vulcan lute thing.
Is that the first time we see this?
No, because we see it in season 1 episode where they're singing. And this is another thing they fuck up, because I think they're singing about the moon.
Oh, is it that shitty song Gene Roddenberry wrote? Well, probably one of the 12.
Of course it is, Doug. And he says Vulcan has no moon, and then in the motion picture, and then subsequently there's multiple matte paintings of Vulcan with a moon.
7 moons. Yeah.
And they have to there's this whole memory beta thing where it's like, well, Vulcan has a companion planet that's tidally locked in the same orbit, and that planet has a moon, so it's not incorrect. It's just like, all right.
Then you get what Alex Kurtzman does.
Yeah.
And then so Altair 6 inauguration will stabilize the entire system. Our appearance there is a demonstration of friendship and strength, which will cause ripples to clear the Klingon Empire.
Whenever anything happens, any party demands a demonstration of both friendship and strength.
And apparently Comac appears in the motion picture.
He does?
Yeah, it doesn't look, they cast a different looking guy, but I think maybe the tribunal at the beginning.
Yeah, because Comac is already pretty old in the 60s here, and he looks like a smoker.
Yeah, it's the name's got a good ring to it. He's James Comac, but we don't know that for another 40 years. So then Kirk. No, it's not. I know of the Altair situation. We would be one of 3 starships. Very impressive, very diplomatic, but simply not that vital show of strength. So Comac's like, you need to tell me what's going on. Chekhov, and then a weird chapel Spock scene
Which again, Strange New Worlds is totally reframed because they dated in Strange New Worlds, which makes this very cold and standoffish. Now, sure, she's been married or engaged to someone else, so this is like reconnecting with someone you had dated 15 years ago, but it is a bit strange.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I mean, I guess Spock's hormones are running off the chart or whatever, but he kind of just fucks with her.
Yeah.
And he is a startling dream, and kind of seduces her through his coldness and comments that her face is wet, she's crying. And then he asks if she'll make him that meat soup. And then she's still crying and is very happy to do it. And it's just that she can serve him seems to give her some satisfaction in the moment. Then we're on the bridge. It's Spock, Kirk, and McCoy in a row with Uhura there too. And I guess this is after McCoy had shared Spock's condition.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to beam down, and he asks his closest friends. Oh, this is in the turbo lift. All right, now I remember the scene. Yeah. And Kirk's selected, and then Kirk's kind of, there's a nice grin on Shatner's face when McCoy is also selected. It's like, take the wind out of his sails just a touch. Then we're on the bridge. Go ahead. Because
he makes it a point that it's his closest friends, and McCoy is kind of ribbed by that.
Yeah, and then so we're on the bridge. We get hailed from Vulcan, or they hail Vulcan. Everyone's standing around. Then Chapel comes in, of course, just to hand McCoy an iPad. And then we meet T'Pring, and we learn that it is Spock's wife.
Yep. Dun dun dun.
End of act.
End of act.
Sorry, I had to wake up.
What? Lots of fun stuff happened.
Yeah,
interpersonal
talking
drama.
and nothingness.
There's pictures of an 8-year-old.
Don't you think if a Vulcan is in Starfleet, they'd have some kind of knowledge about this and perhaps some kind of protocol on how to deal with this?
Well, I'm sure there's not an Enterprise episode that messes up with this continuity too.
Hey, Admiral, we have a medical emergency. Can you rendezvous this guy off our ship?
Hey,
go get some Vulcan puss. Like,
you know, our first and closest ally? Well, apparently.
Yeah.
It hasn't come up in the 100 years we've known each other.
Well, and I'm trying, did they establish, is Spock established as being the first Vulcan in Starfleet?
Okay.
We know about the all Vulcan ship.
You don't think he would have brought it up? Hey, by the way, at some point I might die if I don't.
Oh, it is complicated, Doug. The Vulcans are involved, but I think Spock is among the first Vulcans to serve alongside humans as a Starfleet officer. Because, of course, we know that T'Pol served on the NX-01, but she was a Vulcan observer and not a member of Starfleet. So, yeah.
Probably timed her Ponfar strategically.
No, there's a Ponfar episode.
Of course.
In Enterprise.
Did they at least make it to the second season before they do that?
Season 2, episode 25.
All right. Well, that's
All right.
fine.
Well, that act was boring and slow. So boring and slow, in fact, that I solved 2 Rubik's Cubes during it.
Oh, my God. Wow.
So I'm going with a 2 and a 2.
Oh,
I'll go ahead and mix these back up for just in case it continues in this vein.
I don't think those Rubik's Cubes will be touched again. 2 and 2 is what you gave it?
Yeah, it's boring.
Did we watch the same act?
I know. I thought it was full of drama and emotional manipulation. They talked about salmon and eel birds. I have to
No, it was a biology lesson, and then he's just gaslighting what's her name, and
there's emotional manipulation.
What about when Kirk?
No, it's the same thing as hanging out with Billy Corgan. You know, it's like, no, it's not metal.
What about when Kirk's like distraught about Spock, and all he talks about is how he's a good officer? Let's say 7 and 7.
7 and 7. I cannot fully agree with Doug, but I also cannot agree with Tim. So I'm going to give it a 6.999 metal and a 6.9995 quality.
All right, let me revise my scores. Can I
Okay.
go negative?
No.
2 and 2 is where it's staying.
Yeah. No, only Dave can pull off that kind of bullshit.
All right, hey, just for that, I am deducting another point from the Minnesota Wild. All right.
All right.
Right. Okay, so now we are beaming down onto the planet of Vulcan. If you're watching the remastered edition, you see a very cool map painting or like
they in
visual
Utah?
thing. Yeah, and the sky is eerily red. And they're in sort of a strange, like rock cut place,
Stonehenge.
kind of Stonehenge-y. Spock says that this is his ancestral land.
Is that a Metallica logo over a tombstone? Is this where Death Magnetic came from?
It might be, actually.
It is where the phrase "hot as Vulcan" came from.
Yeah, because god damn, it's hot as Vulcan. Apparently Vulcan is hot.
It's the common phrase we use and hear all the time.
The Earth is the air is also thinner than it is on Earth. Spock just goes and bangs on a gong. And that's pretty metal. There's just a fucking gong hanging from the rock face. And then there's a bunch of jingle jangling. It's like so some guys carrying a sedan chair and other guys carrying fucking like weapon things and T'Pring and some like Michael Phelps looking motherfucker like all walk in, but they're all, you can't hear it, Tim, but it's all like jingly jangly, like they have these racks of jingle bells.
Let me unmute then.
It's always like
It sounds like the wind chime section of a craft store.
yeah. It's not
Also
very
good. They
menacing
thought
or
we wanted
imposing.
25 minutes of this in the search for Spock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Great. Okay. So the woman in the chair is T'Pau, and Kirk starts losing her shit about T'Pau.
She's about to get T'Powed, isn't she?
No. That's T'Pring. T'Pau's the old lady.
She hasn't shown up yet because this part's too damn slow too.
T'Pau, Doug, also featured in multiple episodes of Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh, yeah. Well, isn't it the same lady? Doesn't she play her in the motion picture?
When he's doing Kolinar, I don't think it's the same lady because I was looking that
I
up.
think it's
too.
another silent movie, like another like actor way above who should be in that role.
Yeah, because we should mention, Tim. I know you're not a very well versed in classic silent films, but this is Celia Lovsky, who is an Austrian actress. She first starred in a movie in like the 1920s, but she moved to America. She was in The Man with a Thousand Faces. She's a very notable actress. So she comes. Who is Cora Zedeker? Yeah, and so she comes and she's very famous. She turned down a seat on the Federation Council, and apparently they're realizing what a big deal Spock is. She gives Spock a mind meld, which I think is to stabilize his craziness. Because if you remember, Doug, in Star Trek 3, Saavik does a similar thing to like the Genesis Spock or something.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. They watched one episode.
I watched one episode at least. Again, T'Pau is like concerned that the Outworlders are there.
Well, and there's like you're the boyfriend kind of moment when he introduces Kirk
It's like, we learned that the marriage ritual is called kun ut kal ifi, and they say kun ut kal ifi like many times. And I think they go through some ceremonial stuff, and okay, there's a bit of talking, but they get to the point where they ask to Pring what she wants to do. Basically, she can just go ahead and marry Spock, or she can deny marrying him, and if that's the case, there's a challenge by which she becomes the property of the victor. Because Vulcans are very egalitarian, I guess. And
Said who's Victor.
Well, it's her
really
choice.
Yeah, that's true. She chooses, right? And so she chooses the challenge, and she chooses. There's that Michael Phelps looking dude behind her whose name is Stawn.
Holy shit! It's Michael Phelps.
And so when she says, "I'm gonna choose my champion," that Stawn dude is like, "Oh, like here we go," and she says this one and points at Kirk. Holy shit! Kirk is the one who will be fighting for to bring.
Taking a while to get to potential violence.
And so there's
I
some like
like Barack here.
There's
Barack
like
from Mortal Kombat 2.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the president.
No, I'd be watching if it was.
So there's like some like I don't know, kerfuffle, but then they decide that Kirk is validly chosen, and McCoy is also kind of a bitch, where McCoy's like, there's no that other Vulcan is way too hot and strong. He will beat the shit out of Spock. Only you should fight him. And like he convinces Kirk to fight for him, and they give him like this weird bladed it looks like
it's called a lurpa.
It's called a lurpa, but it looks like something you would use in like American gladiators, except with like a blade instead of like a foam rubber pad. But that's it. That's the end of this act.
Yeah, there's some reasonable. I think it's in this act between T'Pol and Kirk about customs and his the extent to which he needs to respect and participate.
There is very much like a cultural exchange element here.
Kinda starts to override the weird like Pocahontas feel or some. This feels like some kind of American American Indian colonizer scene recast in space a little bit.
I see that.
But maybe that's a deliberation room chamber. So Tim, hit it. Are you done?
No, this fucking
I
thought this was going to be better. It's slow as shit. Oh my god! Right now, Kirk is standing like this.
I mean, that could be it. Is his shirt opened up? Spoiler alert.
Now they're all looking at each other.
Okay.
Now finally something happened. Oh wait, no, never mind. All right, so I almost got the white side of this one done.
Hey Tim, did you see that the Olympic gymnast for Italy?
They're jingling the bells.
Like she had this campaign for cheese. She did all these cheese ads.
I did see that.
Did you see the guy who said she's in bed with Big Parma?
I haven't actually watched it, but what I read, I'll give that the Italian boxer lady bit of credit for not being a bigot.
Mm-hmm.
Probably disagreeing with what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've only been watching YouTube clips of the Olympics, which it dates when we recorded this episode.
Well, these could be any Olympics. Maybe we'll post this in 2026.
Those Italian boxers.
Still a bunch of nothing happening. Why don't you go ahead and discuss it?
Was just on pause the whole time?
No, it's been running. I don't think you understand how fucking boring this is.
I mean, maybe it's less boring if you're hearing them talk rather than just watching people talk.
hearing them talk when the jingle bells are going?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're still going. I unpaused.
Okay. Doug, go
Fucking
ahead.
boring.
There's a lot of setup here. Again, the first time seeing Vulcan, for the one room they film all space scenes in, I thought they dressed it up pretty good. This is kind of an event episode, and it kind of works. Obviously, it's talky. If you like Kabbalah, space mysticism.
Oh, yeah. You know what? We should mention that. This is the first instance of Live Long and Prosper. This is the first instance of the Vulcan salute, I believe. So all that's important.
And I think, the general narrative is Leonard Nimoy probably came up with a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, so Live Long and Prosper is in the script.
Let's put stylish sash on now.
But this is some. It's actually it's a ritual Jewish hand gesture that's like used in like certain benedictions. And so Leonard Nimoy is Jewish, and so as is William Shatner. So he just kind of like was trying to think of like what's a cool like non like typical salute to use, and he didn't want to do anything militaristic, despite the fact that they're about to bash each other's heads in with lurpas. Yeah, so he did that.
I'm ready for my scores.
Oh,
Are you finished the act?
you finished the act?
I don't know. They're still talking.
Did you bring
still
enough for the
shaking
rest of
bells? No, I'm ready. Here we go. Ready?
Uh-huh.
Boring nothingness on a planet instead of on a ship.
On a Vulcan.
2.5 and 2.5.
Well, it's better than the last one. Let's see. Doug, I need to think more. I'll leave it to you.
This was the season premiere. You're like,
Yeah, everyone's
people
quite
involved
excited.
Yeah, some people remained excited.
I guess there was nothing to do back then.
I mean,
It's one of three things to watch.
I like
Fair.
the excellent matte painting work at the very beginning. I didn't watch the original, but I'll give them credit for not going over the top. It was very subtle, looked great. I thought the T'Pring, there's some drama going on here. I like the scorn Kirk gets from T'Pring. I like McCoy's attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the ritual and the rules, that's very metal. This is how it has always been. And there's even some, maybe it's more when they get started, but it's the ways of the ancients.
Yeah.
How it shall always be.
I mean, I like the fact that it is slow and plotting because it is a ritual. I think that's a good aspect. It wouldn't be rushed. It has to be, these are Vulcans and this is their most sacred of rites, apparently. So I think that's
Again,
Tim sees as a liability.
If this is so fucking important for Vulcans, why doesn't Starfleet know about it? Why are they disobeying orders to go deal
Spock
with it?
already spoke to that.
Yeah, they don't. It's embarrassing to talk about your rage boners, Tim.
When you're known
I feel
for...
like if your boner is
passion.
going to kill you, don't you think the captain of your ship should know that might be a thing?
Well,
'Cause now you're a liability, and now you're going to have to beam down to a planet and listen to some old woman drone on about nothing for a while your emo friend goes all emo in the corner, and then they bring out giant Q-tips, and it's still not over.
Wow.
I would say they're more scenester than emo.
Yeah,
all of them.
True.
I don't know the difference because they're all dumb.
Whoa. Well, that's an episode 2 now.
Yeah. So it's a
I give it a 3. Up my
it's
metal
a
to
6
a 3.
and a 7.
No, up my metal to a 3.
6 metal, 7 quality, Doug.
Other way around.
Oh, 7 metal.
Oh, you're right. It's a 7 and an 8.
7 metal, 8 quality.
Yes. You know
right.
what? Fuck it. Yes.
Just to break
I don't
balance.
know what I want to be in the room while you watch this because this is a bunch of boring nothing.
I mean, Doug is right. Tim
No,
is
he's
also right. So that means I'm just gonna duplicate Doug's score, 7 and 8.
Wait. All
Well,
right,
I mean, if I. All right, here we go.
can't talk about it anymore.
Fine by me. All right, well,
All right, do you have the
Fashion with the
right
cute-
act queued up, Tim?
yeah, I mean.
Bash him with the Q-tip. I'd never paused it.
Okay, all right. So now we get to what we've all been waiting for. Let's watch Kirk and Spock homoerotically fight for a while. Now you're not listening, but I believe this is the introduction of the da 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 da, and it's old enough. I don't think will be content matched. But if you like that riff, you're gonna hear it about 50,000 times in the next 8 minutes.
Record that. Can you record a metal version of that?
Yeah. Holy shit!
I
Would that
bet
be
it
an
exists.
RVG like a bonus track?
No, I bet it exists.
You can do it better though.
What time?
I don't know.
I'm wasting all my time watching a bunch of losers talk about rage boners. You know.
You know what? I've heard that spending time with your kids when they're young is overrated, and you can just let them coast until they're 20.
Hey, I did learn when I was a caseworker, the kids are going to be okay.
Yeah,
That's the
kids
main
are,
thing I took away.
Okay, I think I'm actually caught up. They keep showing close-ups of two guys fighting and then long shots of two different guys fighting. What's up with that?
Well, also remember that this is like on a 6-inch TV.
Yeah, but still, that's not. These doubles are terrible doubles.
So yeah, they
In HD.
kind of pound the shit out of each other with the stick things for a little while.
As Memory Alpha says, the fight begins and Spock quickly demonstrates physical superiority.
Just kiss already.
I mean, I spent a lot of time in that fight, like looking for their lips to come into contact.
Yeah, you can tell they want to.
Especially pretty early on, Spock rips open Kirk's shirt.
Yeah, how terrible of an aim is that?
Or how perfect.
Yeah. So
Show me your nips, Kirk.
there's the end of the round, and then McCoy objects because of the thin air, and then he, like, in a very Western way, kind of draws out this cross-looking syringe thing.
Yes. But is that before? At a certain point, they stop. Like Kirk is hit, and I guess Spock. Now I had thought it was, if I remember it being a fight to the death, but at a certain point, Kirk is injured and weak, and they take away the big bludgeony blade thing and just give them like whip.
They're like seat belts
Yeah.
with the belt end still on to give it a bit of weight.
You know, if they're fighting to the death and someone
That's a good point.
interrupts
Yeah, the sticks. If it is a fight to the death, that's pretty sadistic. You start out with the real weapons and then just trip each other with seatbelts,
Yeah.
and then they're like,
can't use
put his-
performance enhancers.
put his head over the plastic fire pit,
Uh-huh.
the light.
Oh yeah. He almost burns Kirk there for a second. Yeah, so that's a good point, Tim. But McCoy's case is that because of the temperature and the atmosphere, Kirk is not at his peak physical
Yeah,
condition.
but don't forget, he insults their culture first.
Well, yeah, he does. He does. McCoy's a bigot, but that's okay. It's the 60s. So T'Pau agrees that he can give him the hypo spray. He gives him the hypo spray, and McCoy whispers to him, or actually not that loud, because Vulcans have excellent hearing. You're gonna have to kill him, Jim.
Yeah. Then they start the seatbelt
Do it.
fight.
Uh-huh.
Then a lot of fighting.
Yeah,
Then
I feel
Kirk.
like Spock would be the power bottom here.
How does Kirk just keel over, Matt?
No, he strangles it. I think they use the seatbelt gets around his neck at some point, and he strangles him, I believe.
Which you can sort of show on TV on like a
Yeah.
I hear
like
if
a
you
scissors.
time that with the
Yeah.
moment of release, that is really.
But
That's only implied, Tim.
yeah, this is 1968 for God's sake.
Oh man, that'd be you can let go and it's like you're dead, but you're not.
Oh God.
Oh, they Romeo and Juliet it.
Okay, so
I feel like Michael Phelps is looking like he's trying to be interested, but he's really just thinking about Subway or something. He used to sponsor Subway.
That was a good Michael Phelps joke. Okay, so he kills Kirk. Kirk is dead. R.I.P. Next episode features Captain Jellicoe. But they beam up. McCoy has them beam up Kirk's dead body. And McCoy says, "As strange as it seems, Mr. Spock, you're in command now. Any orders?" And he orders McCoy to go up and tell Mr. Chekhov to plot a course to the nearest starbase, despite the fact they have to get to fucking Altair 6.
I know.
He's already compromised his command. Yeah. First line.
Then he asks to Pring what the fuck. And she explains that she wanted to get with Michael Phelps. And she did it because Spock had become a legend and he was too famous, and she didn't want to be the consort of a legend. And this was the only way she could divorce him. Stan wanted to be my consort and I wanted him. If the captain were Victor, he would not want me, and so I would have Stan. If you were the Victor, you would free me because I dared to challenge, and again I would have Stan. But if you did not free me, it would be the same, for you would be gone, and I would have your name and your property, and Stan would still be there. So why did this bitch do all this? She literally explained how it didn't matter.
Yeah, so she's like, she's doing this to adhere to the rules. Then the last thing she says is, I don't care about the rules.
Yeah.
But that's pretty metal. The rules matter till they don't.
Spock is distraught over killing his friend, and he basically tells her to fuck off. And he also says, he also does like a creepy veiled threat to Stan. And he says, after time, you may find that having is not so pleasing a thing after all as wanting. Bird.
Wow. He's saying I had her.
Then we end up in sick bay. Which is an interesting place to just end up. No reason for it.
No, there is a reason, Doug. I believe that that McCoy is the next highest ranking officer after Spock, because I think he outranks Scotty.
So wait,
technically.
So wait. The top 3 officers of the Enterprise went down. So
I think they're inconsistent on that.
Spock could deal with his wiener thing.
I think Leonard McCoy is a full commander.
He is, but he's outside of the ship's
chain of
hierarchy, as I understand it.
True.
Well, in any case, so Spock's like, I'm going to surrender my commission. And then he keeps interrupting McCoy, who's trying to say something. And then Kirk appears out of nowhere.
Doesn't he come like from like a door that's conveniently behind them or something?
I think so. And Spock betrays some emotion.
Oh, it's great. It's like it's a big fucking shit-eating grin. And he's like, Jim, and he's so happy. A lot of the old Kirk / Spock, I think, comes from this episode.
Yeah, and then he regains his composure and they expresses agreeability to seeing him again, and that he's uninjured, and that he can't explain what happened.
Like Nurse Chapel is there, and she's like listening, and McCoy like kicks her out, and she leaves in a huff.
Oh yeah, the men can have their
man talk.
Yeah, then we learn about the neural paralyzer that simulated death.
Yep.
And then Spock sums up everything that happens by saying, yes, the girl most interesting must have been the combat. When I thought I'd killed the captain, I found I had lost all interest in Pring. The madness was gone. And then we hear from Starfleet Command, and I guess T'Pau.
You're late.
Had somehow overridden Comac.
Yep.
He was okay with the delay. Then they ribbed Spock about the emotional outburst. And then how logical the response is.
Because just as Kirk keeps talking about how good of a first officer is, Spock keeps talking about how good of a captain Kirk is.
That's right. Merely my quite logical belief that Starfleet had not lost a highly proficient captain. Yeah, and then we get the usual McCoy switcheroo. Pig's eye. Oh yeah, they Kirk's like, come on, Spock, let's go mind the store.
Which again, what the fuck does that mean in the 23rd century? And then it was like that the end of the Simpsons where it's like the love wipe, like da 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 over.
All right, well, that's it.
That's it.
All right.
Pull it all together quite well
in a neat little package.
Really, I mean that. Sorry if it sounded sarcastic. I enjoyed the violence, and I enjoyed the drugging, and the lies, and the treachery. It was all very metal, and a little too much over-explanation at the end there. But, I guess they had to fill out the hour with, it was like...
Yeah, they got a whole
48 minutes of other talking, so why not add some more talking? So, I'm going 8 and 8 with this.
Ooh.
You only need the first scene and the last scene. You didn't need all that crap in the middle.
It's
plausible.
It's like this episode, if I edited it, would be the intro and then yada 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 and then fight.
Setting us up for the gamesters of Triskelion.
Yeah.
Quite well. And another 2 years. I don't know. It's so what's metal? The violence, the costumes, manner of combat, kill each other, homoeroticism that they seem aware of and unaware of.
You're aware of it when you want to be and unaware of it when you don't.
The autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the T'Pring. That was pretty fucking metal. I mean,
she might be the metalest character we've met in Star Trek so far.
Is this the Vulcans are depicted as shifty and Asiatic in this episode?
Yeah.
Are they? Can we read anything in the greater political context? Is that fair?
Maybe.
Because I'm trying to remember. We've seen the Romulans before. How were the Romulans depicted? Were they more Russian or?
They were just like weirdly Roman
in the first time. Yeah, I'm thinking the Klingons.
The Klingons are more, I don't know, Klingonese. They say Klingonese a lot. So,
and we haven't met Sarek or
not yet.
Embarrassing. What's his mother's name?
Amanda Grayson.
Yeah. Okay.
On Wikipedia, it says the Omega-verse genre of speculative erotic fiction is noted as having been influenced by this episode.
Hell yeah. Well, all right. That's all you need to say for my score, Tim. 9.9, 9.9.
Yeah, I mean it's a 9 quality and a 10 metal.
All right, well that's it.
All right, that's it now. Let's see. Very, very respectable episode. 71.73 absolute score, 71.27 metal score, 72.20 quality score. This is not the most metal, but is certainly above the average. Let's look at some things that are more metal than it. The City on the Edge of Forever is more metal than the episode. Devil in the Dark, more slightly less metal. Errand of Mercy, more metal. So it's a good episode. It's a strong start. Certainly better than the start of season 1. So let's celebrate season 2. It's exciting. It's great. And we're going to keep that momentum up next time with the classic of classics, Who Mourns for Adonis?
And what if Man-O-War was real?
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one.
I have to buy a costume for this one.
Well, until next time, Metal Nation, make sure if you're going to have a killer rage boner that your captain knows about it first. Nothing?
Oh, I got nothing.